Hello, Professor. I would like to start by thanking you for teaching us the amazing concepts of system analysis and design. These learned concepts will play a crucial role in our career journey. We are a team of 4 members and our group name is Ninja Consultancy Services. Our team comprises of Ashwini, Ashwita, Aditya, and myself, Faizan. We are recording this presentation in 4 parts, and in this part, I will be covering the client information and discuss the project scope using our report documents. Later on, my other team members will cover use case specifications for a system, the conceptual data model, and non-functional requirements. We will also present and explain the end deliverable of our project towards the end of this presentation. As we have discussed before, our client is Business Intelligence Group, which is a student-led research organization working with UIUC and works with real-time clients to solve their business problems and provide tech strategic consulting. Every semester, Business Intelligence Group hire undergraduate and graduate students to work on their projects and gain enterprise-level experience while completing their program. So without taking much time, I will discuss the problem statement now. So currently, Business Intelligence Group has a very simple website which has like basic information about them and the projects they are working on. But it seems pretty outdated as compared to the other competitors working on the campus, such as Illinois Business Consulting and OTCR Consulting. So there is an opportunity to enhance the user interface by changing the design and adding new features to the system. For example, every semester, Big hires undergraduate and graduate students using a Google form. That Google form consists of different fields such as their email address, their first name, their last name, their net ID, and has some functionality for uploading their resume and their LinkedIn profile link. So instead of so for what happens is that they share that Google form link using Canvas, or maybe they send it to all the students using Outlook. So here we have an opportunity to include a form on the website in which the student can directly apply for working with Big each semester. You just need to maybe change the link of the Google form, or maybe try just turning on or off the form as per the requirement. We can also provide the functionality to the client for submitting the request. For example, right now, Big only has the contact details of Professor Song and some other members of the BIG group. And they have to personally, the client has to personally email the professor for collaborating with Big. We have, in our design, we have introduced a functionality where the client can directly submit their case request using the website, or in this case, the web application. Lastly, this will also help the School of Information Sciences to leverage Big's digital presence to plan their marketing strategies. As we all know, iSchool has recently launched a couple of different programs, such as MS in Information Management program is also a fairly new program as compared to other universities, and they can use Big's digital presence for expanding their marketing strategies. Next, I would like to discuss about the project objectives of this project. So we have our objective is basically to update the existing website of Business Intelligence Group, which is managed by School of Information Sciences, and incorporate some suggestions and requirements provided by the client. Now let's talk about the project in detail. So we are introducing a new and improved prototype for the iSchool web application. And this will be an analysis and design project in which the team will document Big's requirement for the web application and identify enhanced implementation choices and tools to make a recommendation to Big and their leadership team regarding which language, which changes they should be incorporated. This project does not include the implementation of the system. So talking about the intended system users of this project, we have around 4 users. First is student, in which the student can, current students of UIUC, who can submit their application for working with Business Intelligence Group. Second is the client, prospective clients of BIG, which will submit their case request using the web application. Third is the staff of Business Intelligence Group, who is the administrative power here to make some changes to the website and turn on and off the functionality of the forms, and also like create new forms. Lastly, any other audience, for example, like any professor or anyone like who is a part of BIG or a part of UIUC and would like to know a bit, would like to collect some information about business intelligence group, will also use this web application for gathering that data. So the user portion of the system should be provided with the following use cases. So as I mentioned before, students will be able to submit their applications, clients can submit their project request. We will also implement the functionality where we will display some more client testimonials, which will which will empower BIG's website with some credibility to their prospective clients. We will also provide some key analytics figures, for example, like how many students have till now like worked with BIG and how many projects they have been working on and what's their success ratio and stuff like that. So yeah, the staff portion of the system should provide the use cases such as create and delete users and add forms for future semesters. Now let's talk about the business benefits of our improved design and new system. So starting with School of Information Sciences, they will get more credibility for their marketing strategies. Secondly, Business Intelligence Group will get the chance to partner with established companies and other major organizations. Currently, they have like a very complicated process in which the client has to email or maybe like reach out using some other communication channels. But here, like we are introducing a button using which the client can directly submit their case request or their query. We also, lastly, the students will get the opportunity to understand how BIG operates, what is the recruitment process, and which projects they are currently working on. Talking about our project deliverables, the project will consist of the following deliverables, such as a use case specification for each use case included in the system, wireframings, which are screen designs for the new web application, and a project plan. Our estimated project duration is up to 8 weeks and will not consist of actual implementation, but more about like the whole project plan, the use cases, and the system design, like the screen designs for the newer website. Thank you.
Now we will be going through the use case specifications for the BIG's website updation. With the use case specifications, based on the requirements, we were able to identify 4 use cases. We will be walking through each of those use cases now. So the first use case is the user browsing the BIG's website. So this use case starts when the user actually browses the URL for the BIG's website. Now, this use case is for this use case, this is the first version of the use case which was created by the Ninja Consultancy Services. Now, the user browsing use case starts with when the user browses the URL for the BIG's website and wants to explore the entire website. So we have identified the basic flow for this use case as well as the alternate flows that are present. So the basic flow, it will start with the user browsing the BIG's website on any browser which is available at their end. Then they start exploring the various options or the various buttons that are available on the BIG's website. So first, we've taken it as the first one that we've taken is the Our Story tab. When the user clicks on this Our Story button, it will open a new page which will give information about the history, the mission statement, and a little background about BIG and what it is about or what BIG does. The next sub-tab that is present inside the user store and under the Our Story is the leadership. Under the leadership page, a new page will open for the leadership, and under the leadership page, there will be information about the entire leadership team and the staff that is present at BIG. So basically the staff that will be guiding the students who will be a part of BIG. The next is the Contact Us sub-tab, where the user, whoever is exploring the website, be it a client or a student or anybody who just needs information about BIG and has queries about them, can contact them. So the Contact Us will also open a new page and a form which the users can fill out. Then the last, then later on, if the user wishes to apply or wishes to contact BIG, they can fill out the form and submit and click on the submit buttons. Now, this was the basic flow for the user exploring the BIG's website. We have alternate flows for this one as well. Now, the first alternative flow is the Contact Us form. In this, if the user wishes to fill out the Contact Us form, then he will be clicking on the Contact Us button. Then once this button is clicked, a form will appear and the user can fill out the required information and submit the form. The next one is the Student tab. Now, when the user clicks on the student tab, it will open a new page where the student can actually explore or they can get information about all the students who are currently working with BIG, and also as the professional development that they can get, or the experience that they can get in BIG. The next one is the projects tab. Now, this tab will give information about all the projects that BIG has previously worked on or is currently being worked on. So this use case starts with when the user clicks on the project sub-tab. Once that is clicked, a new page will appear, which will contain information about, or which will have further subtabs for the industries in which, or the industries with which BIG has worked. Then there will be another subtab for the clients, or the clients with which BIG has already worked with. So once this page, once the user finishes exploring this page, the use case for the projects tab finishes. The last one is the apply tab. Now this tab contains the forms for applying for BIG, as well as the forms available for the clients to give projects to BIG. So this use case starts with when the user decides to click on the apply button. Once the apply button is clicked, a form will appear and the user has to fill out all the fields present inside the form. And then once that is completed, he or she can submit it. This tab also has information about the interview resources. Once the user applies for BIG, there will be a process after which the user will be hired for BIG. So the user can actually explore all the interview resources that are available as well, which can help them to be hired in BIG. Now, the special requirements that we have for this use case are that the information that the user enters in the forms that should get stored in the database, and multiple users should be able to apply simultaneously. Then the precondition for this one is that the user should be able to access all the forms that are available on the website simultaneously. The successful post condition for this one would be that once the user has filled the form should get submitted successfully and the details should get recorded. The unsuccessful post condition over here is that once the data is stored in the database, there should not be any changes made to the state of the database. That is, the information should be stored successfully. Now, coming to the next use case, we have where the student submits the student application for the BIG's website. So this is also the first draft that is created by the Ninja Consultancy Services, and it was created on the 1st of November 2022. The name of the use case specification is Submit Student Application Form, and this is the version 1 for it. Now, this use case, even for this use case, we have the basic flow as well as the alternative flows that are present. The basic flow for this use case starts with when a prospective student who is already a part of the iSchool visits the BIG's website to submit an application or enroll for BIG. Once they click on the apply for BIG button available, the system will return a form and it will display a form where the student can enter all the details. Once all the details have been entered by the student can submit this form by clicking on the submit button. Once the form has been submitted, the system will return a notification to the student or the client saying that the form has been submitted successfully. Once this notification is returned, the use case ends over here. Now, this use case also has some alternative flows present. So the first alternative flow would be that the student does not submit the application. The student does visit the apply BIG form, but does not submit it at the same time. Rather, he or she goes on to exploring the BIG's website. The next one would be the student explores the interview resources. In this, the use case begins when the student does not submit the form, but rather explores the interview resources before actually submitting the form. This will help the student to get an overview of all the interview resources that are available, and they would know what to expect from the interview process. The next would be the student explores the previous student experiences. Now, the website also has some analytics and information about the students who have worked previously with BIG. So this use case is that instead of filling out the application form, the student explores this tab. Once he has completed exploring this use case ends over here. The last one is the student is not able to submit the request. In this case, if the student goes to the apply form button, he or she fills out the form and then clicks on the submit button. Now, if any of the mandatory fields are not filled out, then the system will return that please complete all the required fields instead of successful submission of the form. Once this notification is received, this use case ends over here. For this use case as well, we have the special requirements. That is, the special requirement would be that the system is able to store all the details that were submitted in the apply BIG form, and multiple users should be able, or multiple students should be able to apply for the BIG's form simultaneously. The precondition is that the system must have information about the previous and the current students who have worked with BIG. The successful post condition would be that the details that were entered in the apply BIG form get saved successfully. Next, we will be going through our third use case, which is a submit a case request use case. Now, this use case is actually used by the clients who come to Big for solutions. So basically, the industries and the clients who come to Big and who want Big student or the groups that are present in Big to work with the clients and solve and give them solutions. So this is also a first version of this use case. The name of the use case is submit a case request. And the first draft for this one was created by the Ninja Consultancy Services on the 1st of November 2022. Now, this use case also has the basic flow and the alternative flows present. So the basic flow would start when the prospective clients visits the BIG's website and it wants to submit a case request. So to submit a case request, the client will click on the Hire Big button available on the website. Once this button is clicked, the system will display a form that can be filled out by the client. Now, this form will contain various fields that will help the client to submit all the requirement that they have or the problem that they wish to solve. Once they have filled out all the fields, they will click on the submit button. Once the form is submitted successfully, the client will get a notification that the form is submitted successfully, and this will be the end of the use case. The alternate flow present for this use case is that the client does not submit a request. So in this one, the prospective client does actually open the Hire Big form, but does not actually submit it and goes on to exploring the other content that is present on the website. The next one is the client checks the case studies. So like the student tab as well. So this tab will also contain information about the previous case studies that Big has already worked with. So instead of submitting the form, the client goes through all of these case studies. The use case ends once the client has completed going through all the case studies. The next is the client checks for the analytics. The Big's website will also contain information about the various analytics or the past cases handled by the students. So it will contain graphs that will give information about this or the various sectors in which Big has worked. So this use case is basically when the client does not submit a request but explores these options that are available. And the use case ends when the client has completed exploring the analytics. The last one we heard is that the client is not able to submit a request if the client fills the form for the Hire Big, and if any of the mandatory fields are not filled by the client, and yet the client goes on to submitting the form, then the client will be notified or an error message would appear saying that please complete all the required fields. Once this is seen, this use case ends over here. The special requirement for this use case would be that the system must be able to store the details of the submitted by the client through the Hire Big form, and multiple clients should be able to submit the Hire Big form simultaneously. The precondition over here would be that the website does contain information about all the previous case studies that were worked by Big, and also the analytics of the students and all the case studies. Then going to the post condition, the successful post condition would be that the information that is recorded in the Hire Big form is recorded successfully in the database. And the unsuccessful post condition would be that no changes were made to the database even after the form was submitted. Last but not least is the contact us form use case specification. So this is basically the form which allows the users or anybody who browses the Big's website to contact Big regarding any queries they might have. So this use case is also the version 1 that was created by the Ninja Consultancy Services, and the name of the use case is contact us form. So this use case also has the basic flow as well as the alternative flows. The use case would start when the user browses the Big's website, and after exploring the Big's website, clicks on the Contact Us subtab. Once the Contact Us subtab is clicked, a new form would appear. Now this form would have various fields which the user can fill out to enter or to submit their query. Once the form has been filled out, the user can click on the submit button that is available. And once the submit button is clicked, the information will be stored in the database. If the information is stored successfully, a message for successful submission of the form would appear, and the use case would end over here. Now, even this use case has alternative flows. So the first alternative flow for this one is that the user chooses the visit social media option. So while using the contact us option, if the user sees the social media option, they would click on that and would explore all the various social media platforms that are available for Big, for example, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. Then the next alternative flow would be that the user chooses the info session scheduling option. Now, this use case begins when the user clicks on the info session scheduling option on the Big's website. It would open a new page that includes a calendar with available time slots and the email address requirement. So basically, the user can choose from the various available time slots that are present, which work for the user as well. Once the correct time slot is selected and the user enters their own email address so that they can get back to them, once this is entered, the user can submit this form. Once this is submitted, the user would receive a booking confirmation for their meeting, as well as a Zoom link will be sent on their provided email address. Now, this use case ends once all of this is completed. The special requirement for this use case would be when the system is able to store all the details that were submitted by the contact us form, and that multiple users should be able to submit this form simultaneously. The post condition for this one is that once the details have been submitted, they should be successfully recorded in the database. Unsuccessful post condition would be that the user has submitted the form, yet there were no changes that were made to the database and the database does not record anything. Now we will be moving to the user interface. As a part of the deliverable or the requirements by the BIGS website updation, Ninja Consultancy Services will be providing a wireframing for the BIGS website updation. So it will be like an enhancement to the existing BIGS website. So now we will be walking through the various user interfaces that the Ninja Consultancy Services has created. So the first one would be the home page for the BIGS website. So as you can see over here, the BIGS website is a part of the iSchool website, and it comes under the Engage tab. Now, the homepage will contain a logo for the BIG and the various options that were discussed previously in the use case specifications. So the first one is our story, then the student tab, the project tab, and the apply tab. So the homepage would contain some images for the BIG's engagements. Next, it would contain an introductory video for BIG, which will give an overview or a good idea of BIG. Next, it will have some images for the statistics at present at BIG about all the clients that are available, the number of students that work with BIG, or the geographical areas which BIG has covered. Then it will also contain a hire BIG button, which can be used by clients to submit their case studies, or that can be solved by the by the students working at BIG. And next is at the bottom we have the contact details option, which will open a form, as well as the social media option, which will provide information about the various social media platforms on which BIG is present. Now, once the user clicks on the Our Story tab, it will open a new page which will contain 3 sub-tabs, that is the History, Leadership, and the Contact Us. So the first one is the History tab. The History tab will give information about BIG. So it will also give a brief overview about BIG, the mission statement, why BIG exists, or what is the purpose that BIG is serving, or what impact it is making, as well as it will give information about the history of BIG, which will have information about when BIG started, or when was it established, the year in which it was established. Next, moving on to the leadership tab. The leadership page will contain information about the entire staff working at BIG and also the leadership team of BIG. So the senior leadership, which will contain all the staff members as well as the students that are working. So this will have an image of each of the member as well as a brief summary or introduction to them. The next one would be the Contact Us. So the Contact Us will open a form with that can be submitted or that can be filled out by the users who are browsing through the website to get into to submit a query or any or if they need any information from BIG. Then the next would be the Student tab. So the Student tab will contain information about the students who are currently working with BIG, as well as who have previously worked with BIG. So this will also contain a summary and a video containing testimonials from students or them sharing their past experiences working with BIG. This will also contain a donut chart, which will showcase the various backgrounds from which the students come from, or the backgrounds of students who are working with BIG, or their academic background. So this will give information about the departments they belong to or where they have previously worked on. Then the next tab is the Project tab. So the Project tab, once the project button is clicked, it will open this page, which will further contain 4 sub-tabs. So the first sub-tab is the Projects tab. This will give information about the various projects that were worked by BIG previously, and it will also contain a video recording which will tell why the client should choose BIG for getting their solutions. Next is the project types. Now this gives information about the various types of projects that were worked by BIG in the past. So it will have information about various sectors that they worked in, basically. The next is the industries. So this will contain a table that will contain a list of all the industries with which BIG has worked with, and also contain a graph which will show the geographical areas where these industries belong to. Last but not the least, this one is the sample of clients. Now this page will contain the list of all the clients that BIG has worked with in the past or is currently working with. The last option is the Apply button. So once the Apply button is clicked by the user, it will open a new page which will have the apply form as well as the interview resources. So the Apply form sub-tab will then open a page which will contain a button which can be clicked by the user to submit an application to apply for BIG. But once this button is clicked, it will open a form which can be filled out by the users. Now, inside this tab, we have more information about the interview resources, the info scheduling sessions, as well as the Hire BIG form. After the apply form, we have the interview resources. Now, the interview resources page contains information about how the interview process is, what kind of rounds that are present. So this tells us about the behavioral interview resources that are available or the case study interview resources that are available. It also gives information about the sample case studies which the students can go through to prepare for their interviews. Next is the info scheduling session. The info scheduling session will open up a form which the users or the students can fill out. So this form will contain a field for entering their email address where we can get back to them, as well as they can enter the time slot which the student is available, or select a time slot where the student is available for scheduling this session. Once this is filled out, the student can successfully submit this form. This form also has a place to enter a message or a comment. The next is the hire bid form. The hire bid form can be filled out by the clients to submit their case studies. So once the client clicks on the hire bid form, it will open a form which they can fill out using the various fields that are available.
Hi everyone, my name is Aditya Mishra, and I'll be talking about the conceptual data model that we created for the business intelligence group. So to start off, the main reason why we do data modeling is so that we can make decisions about what data is necessary and how to collect and structure it. And then coming to the conceptual data model, I think the main aim of it is to create the entities and the relationship between them, as well as the attributes that they have. And it also helps us to organize the scope so that we can see what all entities should be included and which one should not be included, as well as it helps us define the business scope and the rules. Now coming to the conceptual data model that we created for the business intelligence group, the first entity that we looked into was the entity called user, because users are the main people who are going to use the web application. So we created the entity user and we gave the primary key as user ID and a few more attributes like the first name, last name, net ID, and so on. After creating the user, we started thinking who all will exactly use the website, who will be the users. And we came up with students as well as the clients. So we created an entity called student and we connected it to the users. And the relationship that we gave was that the user is student. And we also gave the cardinality for it, which was 1-to-1, because one student will be a one user at one particular time. And for the user entity, we gave the primary key as student ID, and we gave a few more attributes like the first name, last name, net ID, and so on. After creating the entity student, we started thinking that student will be someone who's gonna who would want to work for the business intelligence group. So they would require a student form which they can fill so that the business intelligence group can look into it and see if it will be a right fit for them. And if it is, then they can hire the students and to the business intelligence group. So for that reason, we created another entity called student form, which we connected to student entity by the relationship submits, because the student will submit the student form. And in the student form, we gave the primary key as the student form ID, as well as a lot more attributes like the first name, last name, their email ID, their net ID, and etc. So after creating this, then we focused on the other user, which was the clients. So clients are basically someone who will hire the business intelligence group for their projects. So for that reason, we created this entity and we gave the primary key as the client ID and we added a few more attributes to it. And so the way that the client can submit their ideas and their project ideas to the business intelligence group is by using a client form. So we created a separate entity for that called the client form, and we gave the client form ID as the primary key in that. And there were a few more attributes like their company name and their domain and what their title is and their phone number and so on. After creating this, all these entities, we thought about adding one more feature on the website, which was the contact us form, which is basically for anyone who's just browsing through the business intelligence group's website. They can, if they have any queries, they can fill up that form and submit it to BIG. So we created a separate entity for that called the contact us form, where we gave the contact us form ID as a primary key so that we can differentiate the different queries that people have submitted, and we added like email, subject, and description as the other attributes, so that whatever query they have, they can write it down in the description and submit it, and it will directly go to the business intelligence group. So that was another entity that we created, and we gave it a one-to-many relationship between the user and the contact us form, because one user can submit multiple queries and multiple contact us form to business intelligence group. So that was the reason. After this was all the users that can actually browse the website, then we started thinking about the backend and the people who can manage the website from the backend. So for that, we created a separate entity called the system user, who will basically have a username, password, and they'll have different roles and different access to the website and the changes they can make to it. And for that reason, we also created two more entities that were role and permissions, which was basically to see that whoever at the backend is actually managing the website and using it and seeing all the data in it, they'll have different roles. So we gave role ID, role name, and as a attribute, and so that they can see what kind of role they have. And same goes for the permission. We could see that what kind of permission do they have, and what all changes are they allowed to make on the website, and what all data they can actually take from the website. For that reason, we created the permissions entity. So that was all about the conceptual. That was a brief description about the conceptual data model. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Aditya, Faizan, and Ashwini for their amazing inputs on all the documents. Now let's move on and talk about non-functional requirements here. Non-functional requirements, or NFRs, popularly known as, are a set of specifications that describes the system's operation, capabilities, and constraints, and attempt to improve its functionality. These are basically the requirements that outline how well it will operate, including things such as speed, accuracy, reliability, and data integrity. Let's move on and talk more about non-functional requirements. First factor is usability. How usable the system is and how simple it is for the system to get used. First, we have human factors, which everything will be conform with the standards of UI, HCI standards adopted or promoted by UI, UC, and iSchool. The aesthetics will be same, conform with all the standards of UI, HCI, and UI, UC, iSchool, as we have the popular blue and orange aesthetic. Mostly we will be using that. Also, Big has adopted its own set of standards and will be implementing those too. For consistency in the user interface, system shall conform to all standards again adopted by iSchool regarding consistency of UI. Online and context sensitive help, all action oriented screens in the system will have a dedicated help screen. So if you have a question, as well as display screens will be self-explanatory. There are no wizards and agents, and user documentations as mentioned above, and training materials or short video will be provided for training for the system users to how to use backend, as well as a small video for the users who wants to visit and use the website. The reliability is very important, hence the frequency and severity of failure will be not more than once a month, as well as the system will back up every day and its recoverability will happen in 1 hour. There is no predictability, but the accuracy will be according to UI UC, and there will be no false information on the screen. The performance is really important. So a speed and efficiency are not exclusively mentioned, but the throughput should be 300 simultaneous users can visit a website, as well as 10 staff members can use the backend simultaneously. The response time of the screen will be 1 second. The refresh time, that's one. And it also depends on your local broadband provider. The supportability. So for the testability, solutions that include with PyTest and unit testing will be done. For extensibility, we are going to create code to establish a common database. For adaptability, the system will be adaptable and will change according to the client's requirements. To maintain, we are going to use open source tools such as Git, so everything is at one place and will get backed up. We have configurability. It will be configurable as the forms will be open everywhere on the screen, and feedbacks can be given. For serviceability, the maintenance is limited to 1 downtime hour per month and 2 downtimes per quarter. For installability, the system will just need an operating system and a browser. That's it. And we will be supporting US English. Security is very important part of NFS and NFR. So for the authentication, every system user will have a proper verification and have security for backend users to access the database. Same authorization, only some members will have authorization to access the database as it contains sensitive client information, and all the passwords will be encrypted in the database, hence we talk about encryption. Confidentiality everything will be according to the iSchool data policies and data sharing policies with UIUC, and there are no compliance. Now, I just want to thank everyone and professor to listen to our recording and learn more about BIG and this amazing project to promote BIG as one of the established intelligence group here at iSchool as well as UIUC. This project will actually help BIG to establish a better, more professional intelligence group position here at UIUC, and will attract more clients to get the services of big organization. As it provides a multiple number of actions, such as students can fill and apply the form, clients can apply, and there are contact us form where every user can easily contact BIG for their requirements is really great. We talked about use cases, how we have a browsing use case, a student client form filling use case, as well as contact us use case. And all this are directly related to our beautiful wireframing that we did with the tool, wireframing tool. And how easy it is. Now this template can be uploaded into somewhere, and some other person can use this template as an official wireframing and can build a website upon it, so they don't have to design it again. The professor, our client, can actually use this template for multiple other websites that he manages. So this will be also a great upgrade for him. That our design is very appropriate and very standardized, so it doesn't need to have much changes, and it's all according to UIUC, which is great. And hence this gives us to the end of our presentation. But I would also like to thank everyone in my team, as well as from our side of the team, on the behalf of Aditya, Ashwini, and Faizan, to thank you, Professor. This experience has been really amazing. We have learned a lot. For example, how a problem can have multiple solutions. For every discussion in a class, I was surprised that how if I made one conceptual model, there are 50 more conceptual models there, some better, some not. As well as this project has been really great. I learned a lot of teamwork, how to document, how to get end-to-end overall view of the project, even a great time management, because we just had 8 weeks to complete this project. And thank you so much, Professor, for all the guidance, and we would love to hear your feedback about this and how we can do better, think better, explore better. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful winter break.